Welcome to Amplify, the podcast for accounting firm growth. I'm your host, Chris Camara. Today we're discussing successful digital marketing campaigns with Apoorv Dwivedi, a strategic marketing advisor for accounting firms and the founder of Fixer Marketing. Apoorv, thank you so much for coming on the show today. We really super appreciate it. But before we jump in, why don't you tell us a little more about yourself?
Thanks, Chris, and thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate this opportunity. So, a little bit about myself. That was a great introduction. Thank you. I come from client-side marketing, so I used to work within accounting and advisory firms, and I used to do the marketing within accounting and advisory firms. Worked with large teams and stuff. Worked on all different types of service lines and clients and industry groups, and brand and digital and all of that type of stuff. And then I went out on my own and I set up an agency that was focused just on helping accounting firms. Because one of the things that I found in my experience anyways was I was dealing with a lot of marketing agencies and folks that were out there, but they didn't really get the industry and they're trying to sell us stuff that we didn't need. Or stuff that didn't make sense in our environment. So I was like, no, what, there has to be a better way of doing it. And so that's kind of really where I approached setting up Fixer Marketing.
Roll out the red carpet. Celebrate your professionals. Be seen. At Ingenuity Marketing Group, we personalize your approach to attract talent and win business. In our world, accounting professionals are the celebrities. That means branding, PR, and content that ranks you higher. For visibility, faster marketing ROI, and more time in your day, contact our in-house specialists at ingenuitymarketing.com.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. So let's start by talking about the different types of email campaigns that marketers use. So I know there's drip and I know there's nurture. What are these and what else is out there?
Sure. So before I jump into that, let me just take a second and talk about campaigns, right? So what does a campaign mean, right? So when we're talking about a campaign, I kind of want to set the stage and say, so a campaign, if you think about it, it's a collection of marketing activities targeted towards a specific goal or objective or outcome. Right, so it can include email, it can include websites and landing pages, it can include content and thought leadership pieces and webinars and offline stuff as well, right? Trade shows, events, etc. So, think of a parallel between like a marketing campaign and a political campaign. A political campaign, you have all this activity that's geared towards getting a voter to make a certain outcome or make a certain selection, right? It includes billboards, TV ads, all sorts of like debates and speeches and things like that. Marketing campaign, same concept, right? So you have all these connected activities that are geared towards a specific outcome, whatever that might be. Usually it's something along the lines of demonstrating interest or purchasing a product or service, but there could be other ones as well. So now that being said, your question, what are the different types of email campaigns in particular? So you mentioned drip campaigns. So for the listeners out there, a drip campaign is essentially a series of emails that are sent out based on timelines or user activities. So you receive an email day one, maybe you receive another email day two, maybe you receive another email day 5, day 10, day 20, et cetera, something like that, right? So it's a preset timeline, and that's kind of what's intended by the drip. It's usually set by time. It could also be set by user activities. User does something, then they receive a certain set of emails. They do something else, then they receive a certain set of emails. A nurture campaign, similar to a drip campaign, but it's really more focused on, okay, you've captured the interest of someone, you have their email address, and now you're trying to nurture them along towards the outcome. And usually, particularly in the accounting advisory world, nurture campaigns involve a lot of capturing mind space, getting people thinking about what you're proposing, demonstrating all the things that are related to trust and credibility for your firm. So they see you as being a viable option or provider for that. So it's kind of everything that goes into that. So that's drip and nurture campaigns, but there could be all sorts of other campaigns too, right? So you think about even just transactional stuff, right? So a customer takes a specific action, like say, for example, they make a purchase or they request information, right? And then that triggers a set of emails that go along with that. They sign up for something, right? Then it triggers a set of emails that go along with that. Or there could be other campaigns too, right? There's things like definitely very popular in the accounting industry space, things like newsletter campaigns, right? Where it's just, okay, we're putting out something on a regular schedule to an audience to keep top of mind with them, to keep them informed about the latest of what's going on in the industry or relevant tax information or what's happening with the firm or things like that. So, there's things like newsletter campaigns, there's seasonal campaigns, right? So around different types of seasons, tax season obviously being a big one for all of our listeners. So there's a variety of different types of campaigns like that, right? But then again, I kind of come back to the definition of what is a campaign.
Right. So thanks for starting with that. That really helps. But where do you start to craft a successful campaign, and what types of things would you run a campaign for?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're putting together a campaign, where do you start? So start with what is it that you're trying to achieve, right? I always start with the outcome in mind and then work back from there. So you need to have very clear objectives. So what exactly is it that you're hoping this campaign to achieve? And the more clearly you can articulate that, the easier it's going to be for you to put together a campaign that delivers on that. If your objectives aren't clear, you can get a whole bunch of wishy-washy stuff, right? Because it's not really sure where the campaign should be going. So start with clear objectives. Second thing I'd say is be very, very clear about the audience. You may have an existing audience already. Maybe you're segmenting your audience, so maybe you're sending out different messages or different content to different segments of the audience. But you need to be very, very clear on who the audience is as well. So where are the objectives, who's the audience, then you can start to get into, okay, what should the content be? Right? So what are the different pieces of content that we want to make sure that we're delivering to our audience? And, particularly in the case of things like email or campaigns that use different types of tactical activities, you also want to make sure that you're delivering that message in different types of formats and you're repeating that message over so that message gets heard. Right. So it takes time for a message to be heard. It takes time for that to kind of sink in with folks. There's all sorts of different math that's out there, rules of thumb, things along those lines. But essentially, you want to have that core message. You want to repeat it in different formats. And make sure it's delivered to that right audience. So, I mean, that's the starting point. That's the framework.
Yeah, thanks. So how do you judge success, though? What data should marketers be looking at, and what do you do with that data? And what do we share and with whom?
Yeah. So again, coming back to the objectives, right? So if you have clarity around what your objectives are, your success should be measured by your objectives. So there should be a measure of your objectives. So, if your objectives are around building audience, okay, well, what are the success metrics that go with that? So, is it things like engagement rates? Is it things like signups? So focus on that type of thing. If you're looking at generating leads or new lead opportunities, then you're looking at something different. Then you're looking at, okay, how many people demonstrated interest? What was the quality or the depth of their interest? And what types of metrics would go around things like that? On the other hand, for some of the other campaigns that we mentioned, you might be looking at things like, okay, how many people are opening emails? How many people are reading the emails? How many of them are clicking through the emails to, the lead magnet or the article or research piece or whatever it is that you have delivered there. So a lot of the metrics for success are really driven by whatever the campaign objectives are. The one thing I would say as well, though, that's really important, specifically in the accounting industry, is looking at the flip side of what success looks like. And by that, what I mean is like you'll see in like mass market email campaigns in particular, they just spam out tons of stuff, right? And they don't really care if people unsubscribe. They're just looking for that, 0.5%, 0.25% success rate or something along those lines. In the accounting world, it's different. Accounting, tax advisory firms, you have a limited audience that you're going to, and you're building your reputation over time. So you need to be very, very particular about things like unsubscribe rates. You don't want to upset someone right now with a whole bunch of spam because they could be a potential customer down the road, a year down the road, 5 years down the road, whatever the case may be, right? And I think a lot of the times, like a lot of the traditional digital marketing types of approaches ignore the realities of what it takes to be successful in the accounting industry.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You don't want to annoy people, that's for sure. So, are campaigns one and done? I mean, can you run them again? And how do you build upon your own results in future campaigns?
Yeah, so I mean, certainly they can be one and done, depending on whatever, again, your campaign objectives are. But there's no reason why you can't repeat campaigns. If there's something that's timely or dated, of course you want to make sure you're refreshing it, make sure it's the latest information that you're putting out there and it's accurate. But yeah, you can absolutely rerun campaigns over and over again. You might want to give a bit of a breather in between rerunning it, but you can certainly rerun it. You can rerun it to different audience segments. You can rerun it to the same audience over time and see what the difference in response rates and what the data shows you. And that's actually really where you start to get into the real value of a lot of digital marketing, marketing automation stuff, right? Is as you start doing it over and over, you start to get more and more data, right? And as you get that data, then you can start to see, okay, this is what's performing better. We changed this one thing in the subject line and we got a higher open rate. We changed this one thing with the call to action button and we got a higher click-through rate, right? So once you start doing those types of things, you can start to make those little tweaks. You can start to make tests over time. That is hugely powerful. And that's probably one of the most valuable things with digital marketing campaigns is having the ability to test and to segment and to continually refine over time.
So, when should you use marketing automation? Maybe you could give us some examples of when this might make some sense.
Marketing automation, essentially, again, just to clarify for the audience, when we're talking about automation, we're talking about tools that allow you to put together different types of marketing activities based on some type of user behavior, right? And usually it's triggered by some type of activity. And so you can have different types of campaigns. You can have campaigns that will send different content to different folks based on what they've done, if they've opened something, if they haven't opened it, if they've read it, if they haven't, if they've clicked through to a certain part of the website, or if they haven't. So automation can be really, really powerful. Now, the challenge with automation is just the time and effort that it takes to set it up. Really is what it comes down to. It is not an easy thing to do. Sometimes it can be a little bit technical. So that's really the challenge with it. But in terms of cost, there used to be a time when automation platforms were hugely expensive. That's not the case anymore. The cost for automation has come down considerably. What's available today is a fraction of the cost of what it even was, 6-8 years ago. So marketing automation tools are now within the reach of pretty much every firm out there in some way, shape, or form. Again, the question comes down to, okay, how much time and effort are you actually going to put into implementing it and setting it up? There comes a point of diminishing returns, right? And that's going to vary based on every single firm and who they're trying to reach, the size of their audience. So each marketer needs to figure that out on their own. But there is absolutely a time and place for it with almost every firm out there today.
What about lead scoring? What is this, and is it effective? And how might a firm want to use this?
So lead scoring is essentially assigning a score, putting a number to a lead to quantify how good of a lead that is. And when you score a lead, let's say you're scoring leads out of 100. And so what you're going to do is you're going to assign a number value to different types of activities, right? So, maybe if the particular contact is a very perfect fit, it might have a little bit higher score to it. If they have a certain title, they might have a little bit higher score. The contact has opened all of your emails, that you assign a score to that. They've clicked through, so you assign a score to that. They've signed up for a webinar, you assign a score to that. They downloaded something, you assign a score to that. So essentially what you're doing with the scoring is you're assigning a quantitative value, allowing you to see, okay, based on all of these activities, this is a better quality lead than another one. And usually what you do is you assign all these scores to it, you start to score your leads, and you get to the point where you say, okay, we're going to basically draw a line in the sand and say, okay, once a lead goes beyond a certain score, then it's time for our business development team or someone to actively reach out to them or contact them or move them into a different stage of the pipeline for lead nurture. So lead scoring can be really powerful. You see this in large organizations for sure, particularly ones that have done a really good job with combining both marketing automation and CRM platforms. And so folks that do that together jointly often get a lot of value out of it. That said, it is complicated. It does take time and effort. Every single instance I've been involved with lead scoring, there's always a debate. Well, why did we give this a certain number of points versus something else? And there really is no fixed answer for that, right? So it's something you have to kind of go through and assess to determine, okay, what is the proper way of assigning those scores? But if you do that and you go through it, a lot of firms do get value out of that. So, what it allows you to do is it gives you insights as to where your pipeline is at. It gives you insights as to, the depth and the success of your marketing campaigns, right? And as we all know, accountants love data, right? So when you're in the accounting advisory industry, the more data you can put around these things, the more they love it. But it's again a point of diminishing returns where you have to say, okay, is this enough, or do we need to do more? You can definitely go down rabbit holes with all sorts of complicated algorithms and formulas and things that really, at the end of the day, you have to kind of step back and say, okay, is that actually adding value to the process or not?
Right, right. So, Apoorv, thank you so much. You've given us so much information, and I really, really appreciate it. Before I let you go, though, what is there coming up that you'd like to let us know about?
Sure. Yeah. So there's a couple things coming up in the near future here in 2024. So first of all, I'm going to be speaking at the AIM Summit this year in May. So for anyone in the audience that's going to the Association for Accounting Marketing Summit, look out for my session there. I think you'll find that really interesting. So I'm going to be talking about AI and SEO and where it's going in the future, which is a really interesting space to kind of see what's happening right now. So that's the first thing. The second thing is We are working on a course for the Association for Accounting Marketing on SEO for accounting marketers. There was a module that developed before that was part of the digital marketing certificate, but this is now like a complete full standalone program that's going to be launched. And it's very in-depth. I've had a chance to work with a lot of really bright people to help put this together. And I think we're really excited about where that program is going. So, for anyone in the audience that is interested in SEO in the accounting space, definitely take a look out for that course and sign up for it.
All right. So let the audience know how best to get in touch with you or to learn more about Fixer.
Yeah, so the easiest way to learn more about Fixer is just go to our website, fixer.com, fixyr.com. So again, that's fixyr.com. And if they want to get in touch with me, they can just reach out to me directly. So my name's Apoorv at fixer.com. So that's APOORV at fixyr.com. They can just contact me directly.
All right, great. Thank you again, Apoorv. You've been a wealth of information, and I'm sure our audience will learn a lot. So that's it, though, for this episode of Amplify, the podcast for accounting firm growth. A big thanks to all of you for listening in today. If you like what you heard, we'd love a review on the podcast platform you're listening to us on now. And be sure to listen to the other episodes in the digital lead gen season. You can learn more about Amplify and our past seasons on accountingmarketing.org. Look for the podcast under publications. If you want to learn more about me, you can reach out on LinkedIn at Chris Camara, that's Chris with a C and Camara, or email me at ccamara@ipainsider.com. Thanks again, and we look forward to having you join us for another episode soon.